In England, they have a Prime Minister, whom the English call Kerl Stalin, and he's the perfect proof of what I've been telling you, that Pharaoh's nobility wants an Islamic caliphate in Europe, being the perfect feudal system to rule over all the slaves, who will by then all get the mark of the beast through genital mutilation, just as Pharaoh did with all their slaves, like the jaywalkers, Nubians, and today's Americans, in order to make sexually obsessed slaves who are too busy with themselves instead of doing a revolt against the masters, for instance. And it says here, Sir Kerl Stalin, with the Russian symbols here of the Soviet era. Here he is, Kerl Stalin. Here's a beautiful Islamic palace of the Caliphate. And here it says the Islamic Caliphate of Europe, here probably the 12 stars of Europe, the perfect feudal system of Pharaoh's nobility. So for those who don't know yet, this is, it says, England's Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. So this is his real name, Keir Starmer. Keir is an Irish name. And here it says Kim Jong-un, because he's a socialist prime minister with extremely weird ideas. And he's been knighted, so it says Sir Keir Starmer. And the word Sir, of course, it comes from sire. Before, with the king, he was called sire. That was the vertical rule. And now we got the horizontal rule, and the E has been dropped, and it's only Sir. In a way, we got the concept of 3 and 4 here in it as well, in the same thing. Now, maybe, might be far-fetched, but who knows? They are quite weird with all these numbers. So sire is the vertical rule, and Sir is the horizontal rule, equivalent of the same thing. So now, where does Comrade Kerl Stalin or Comrade Kim Jong-un gets his orders from? Well, he got knighted 10 years ago in 2014, becoming a Knight Commander of the Order of the Bath, short KCB. So here you see Keir Starmer, and here is the logo of the Order of the Bath. Here you can see King Charles walking around with a cape of the Order of the Bath. And here it says Ich dien in German. So the King Charles, he has a difference. Beneath it is the logo of the Order of the Bath, and King Charles, he has on top of that the Templars cross in it, and it says Ich dien in German. Well, nowadays German you would say Ich diene, but in those days it was Ich dien. So why in German? Well, we all know the answer to that, and I'll explain you later on that this name here, Starmer, is German as well. So here it says Sir Keir Starmer, knighted, on a red underground for the which is the nobility. Keir Starmer 10 years ago, together with the king. So they know each other, they're in the same order, right? So here you can see some more about the Ich dien, or Ich diene. Here it says, a ribbon below the coronet bears the German motto, Ich dien. Modern German, Ich diene, as I just told you, means I serve. Well, I mean, if it's written in German, who do you think he's serving? Who do you think the bloke is serving? And these are the 3 feathers of the Prince of Wales, and I told you the three, it's them. The concept of three, it's them. The concept of four is us. And here's about the Black Prince. It's interesting as well. So here are the images. Here's the next one. It says everywhere Ich dien in German. So no, it doesn't show up here. Well, you can see it like this, Ich dien. And here on the three feathers, maybe this one is better. Yeah, it says Ich dien, Ich dien. So the three feathers, it means I serve. Oh, there was another one. It says everywhere. Ich dien, here again, Ich dien, an old one. And here, Ich dien. It's all in German. Yeah, Ich dien. I mean, what is this all about, eh? I mean, Latin, okay, you know, that's ancient language, and in the old days, you know, it was in Latin. Why in German, eh? Ich dien, again, with two Giureh cookery knives. And here the three feathers. The concept of three, together with the crown. They show it everywhere. And the, well, already the pharaohs had this. So, I mean, if you serve the crown, and the crown serves somebody else, saying it in German, so who do you think you are serving? And if you serve his mate, who's been knighted, the KEIR STARMER, and he has a German name, and I'll explain that to you, the etymology of the name Stürmer. It's perfect German. All of this is, you know, so who are you serving? Saying yes sir, no sir. The order of the bath is an equivalent or an extension of the order of the garter and the Scottish order of the thistle, where I filmed you the thistle in the ancient French Templar town of La Couvertoirade, with the thistle everywhere nailed on each door of each house. The thistle's name is La Cardabelle, and I had a video about it, but the whole video is gone, as so many of my videos have been taken off. So this is the Knights Templars thistle, as in the order of this thistle. So here you see this thistle, the La Cardabelle, nailed on the doors. Here it says La Cardabelle, order of the thistle, and it comes out of the Knights Templars. It symbolizes, of course, the sun and Amun-Ra, because that's where they basically come from, eventually. And it's a secret symbol. They nailed it on the doors, as you can see here, in the Templar town La Couvertoirade in France. It's probably the biggest, or maybe the only, entirely town of the Knights Templars. The order of the bath has, of course, nothing to do with a bathtub, but it's related to the bloodbath of Jerusalem of July 14th, 1099, where the Templars walked up to their knees in the bloodbath. The order of the bloodbath of the Knight Commander of the Templars, Sir Comrade KEIR Stalin. So here you see the Sir Stalin of the order of the bloodbath, because of course it has nothing in common with a normal bath. And here on the other side you see the bloodbath. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if the first big bloodbath of the civil war coming up in England will be on a July 14th, and it's all planned. So I'm not saying that it will be, but I would not be surprised if it will be on a July 14th. July 14th, as in Starmer's order of the bloodbath of July 14th, is always a bloody day, organized by Octagon of the Knights Templars, as the French Revolution of July 14th, Bastille Day of 1789. The terrorist attack of Nice on July the 14th, 2016. The very bloody revolution of Iraq on July the 14th, 1958, killing King Faisal II, with Iraq changing from a vertical rule monarchy into a horizontal rule republic, just as in France during the revolution, and on the very same date of July 14th. Mere coincidence? No, of course not. July 14th is sort of Knights Templars' day of their principality, when the princes sacked the king. Dear slaves, you must watch the numbers and the dates. Therefore, the Stalin's order of the bloodbath was founded on May 18th, another very important day for the Templars, a day they'll always remember, because the Templar stronghold Acres, Saint-Jean d'Acre in French, fell on May 18th, 1291, which marks the official end of the Crusades. So here again, Kerl Stürmer being knighted. Here it says Order of the Bloodbath, founded May 18th. And here it says May 18th was the fall of Acres. In the next video, I'll tell you why October 7th is also one of those returning dates. So here you can read it. This is the about the fall of Acres or Acre, and here you can read it. May 18th, 1291. So the siege was from April 4 to May 18th. Quite a long time, eh? And here you can read this again here. There you go. Acre falls by the night of May 18th. Acres was in Mamluk hands. That was the end of the Crusades. So here is the order of the bloodbath, and here it says established in May 18th. So the Knights Templars, sort of in the Middle East with the fall of Acres, fell on May 18th, and this is sort of the continuation of it, you know, going on again on the same date, May 18th. These dudes are completely nuts, you know, with all their numbers and things like that. And here it says the Knights of the Bath, you know, they say they took a bath. Well, of course, you know, they wouldn't call an order, you know, giving it the name of a bath, you know. They usually lie. And the logo of the Order of the Bloodbath has the motto Tria Juncta in Uno, for three, or meaning three joined in one. Well, 3 and 1 is 4, So it says the concept of 3 and 4 for square and compass, further accentuated by the circle for the compass and the whole thing in a square, as in square and compass, with 8 tongues sticking out at us, their slaves for the octagon. So here's a circle, the whole thing is like in a square. Here it says tria juncta in uno, so it says 3 and 4. And here are sort of 8 tongues sticking out at us, the slaves. And there are 3 crowns because 3 represents them, our masters. And here you see the 3 crowns, the masters. And our masters are from Pharaoh's nobility, who traditionally wear a crown. Logically, a knight commander and his mates of the Order of the Bath are not sitting in a bathtub all together like a bunch of Yakuza Japs. No, a knight commander is a military killer who makes bloodbaths and has barely anything in common with a bathtub. Look here at the website British People of Swiss Descent and how a lot of Swiss names end with ER, like for instance Stürmer, ER at the end, indicating a person doing something, like having a certain job, similar to English a baker, a butcher, a bricklayer, etc. So here I'll show it to you. As you can see here, there's also Scottish people of Swiss descent and Swiss immigrants to the United Kingdom, the Salis family from Swaziland, English people of Swiss descent, well, etc., etc. And so here you can see some names here. Maybe you recognize some people. Here's the nobility from Swaziland taking key positions. The Salis, Royal Navy officers. What is he? An admiral. Well, you're taking up orders from a Swiss admiral in the English Navy. Come on. Here, Forer, ending with EA. Gabbathula, ending with ER, or like Stürmer, and I'm coming to it. Leutzinger. So in Switzerland, there's a lot of, Baroness de Ruyter, ending with ER, the Baroness. Joseph Moser, ending with ER. Nadi. There's this guy now in Swaziland who is, I forgot his name, but he's criticizing a lot, like the Swiss system. But I know it's all a hoax, Hey, you got his name, Yeah. And here more, Count de Salis, a landowner in Middlesex. And Venner, also ending at ER. And here's some more Brunner. There was this famous Nazi, Brunner. I think he ended up in Syria. Here, baronet. How come, you got a Swiss baronet in England? How come, Eyer, also with ER, just like Stürmer. So if I punch here, English people of Swiss descent, this is too much. I can't really go through all of them, but there was one that caught my attention here, as I already talked about him. William Haldeman. He was he was the director of the Bank of England. Remember when I did the video on Elon Musk? Well, Elon Musk, from his mother's side, he's out of the Haldeman family, this family here. He's related to the director of the Bank of England, Elon Musk. Yeah. So just watch my video. Maybe it's on my other channel about the Haldeman. Yeah, Elsässer ending with ER. Maybe you recognize some name. Keller is a soccer player for the goalkeeper for the young boys. And Oberholzer. So yeah, Peter Ustinov, he's also of Swiss descent. And also Tamara Ustinov. Dutré, a nobility name. So there are a lot of people of Swiss descent that emigrated to England. Also in Scotland. And there's also of Romansh. Romansh is the fourth language in Swaziland. There's German, French, Italian, and Romansh. So now I'm heading to Starmer, and I'm gonna show you some things that will probably shock you. He's not English. He's not acting English. Apparently his politics is against the English people. So could he be a Swissy? Okay, I'll show you. So in Swiss German, there is this military position, der Stürmer, meaning the stormtrooper. And in Old English, the word for Stürmer is Starmer. So picture yourself, Keir Starmer, as a stormtrooper, invader, which in fact he is. And I'll prove that to you. Also in football, in Swiss German, an attacker is being called Stürmer. So here you see the victorious Swiss army. They need to put their flags everywhere. And in nowadays Swiss German, and also in German, there's this word Stürmer. The ST is like pronounced like sh, Stürmer. And in Old English, the same word is Starmer. And nowadays English, it is a stormtrooper since the Second World War, I suppose. So Mr. Starmer is the stormtrooper. And this is how he's behaving, isn't he? Invading England. As you know, or some of you know, that next to French, I also speak, read, and understand fluent German. And I also speak Swiss German. But it's also the internet that provides the same information, as you can see here, as what I say, that the surname Starmer or Starmer derives from the Old English, which is of course Anglo-Saxon and meaning storm, plus the ER, as in Starmer, ER, of someone doing the storming, like a stormer or a stormtrooper. And here you can read it. And if you punch origins, name, Starmer, storm. So I punched this in the search machine. And then for the name Starmer, it gets this. An habitational name for Starmore in Westral, Leicestershire, from an Old English personal name, Storm. Genitive, storms. Now here's another one. Here. Starmer family history. Starmer surname meaning English. A name from Old English personal name Storm. So it comes from the Old English word storm. And here as well. Starmer, here Starmer, from an Old English personal name Storm. Old English. And well, it's everywhere, And Old English, it's Anglo-Saxon. He says Keir is Gaelic. It is Gaelic, but I'm not sure if it's dark. Because I know that in Gaelic or Celtic language in France, in the east of France, there's the Giureh mountains, and that's Celtic. And Ra, it means black, and Giureh, it means the forest. It says the Black Forest, which actually is the same mountain ridge going over into the German Black Forest. It's only interrupted in the Rhine Valley at where Basel is. So Starmer, here it says storm, tempest. Oh, he's definitely going to bring a storm over England, eh? He already did. So Stürmer. Nowadays word in German is Stürmer, as I just written down for you. And the English word for Starmer nowadays is a stormtrooper. Old English is Starmer, and stormtrooper is New English. And German or Swiss German is Stürmer. Storm for storm sounds like the posh aristocratic pronunciation of some knighted pharaoh like Sir Kerl Stürmer for storm, like saying Germans are saying that there is a huge storm coming up in the world, similar as saying Stürmer instead of Stormer, or Stormtrooper instead of Stormtrooper. So he's in being knighted again. Here it says posh English pronunciation Stürmer. From the Old English storm, or the Swiss German and German Stürmer, and in New English Stormtrooper. And the Nazis, they had the SA, Ernst Röhm, a pinklist killer. He was the head of the SA, which means Sturmabteilung, like Starmer. The SA would say, just something like Starmerabteilung or something, eh? And Sturm in German or Swiss German, it means storm. And somebody doing it, like storming, the word is Stürmer. It gets a umlaut here, the two dots on the U. But it's all the same stuff, it's Anglo-Saxon, Germanic. And this is interesting, linguistically, the Swiss Germans or the English and the Swiss Germans, they kept a lot of original Germanic words, and they are similar in Swiss German and in English. Like in English, you say listen. In Swiss German, it's lose. Whereas in German, it's something completely different, It's like hören or the zuhören. So that's for listen. And there was another word. Oh yeah, in Swiss German, schauen, it means to look. Whereas in German, you say sehen or gucken. So there's a lot of words, and that's probably because they've been taking pictures now with satellite pictures, and they saw that the River Rhine, it actually goes under the North Sea, and the channel, the English Channel, and it ends up in the River Thames. The River Thames is actually the River Rhine. So, in the old days, they all sailed down the Rhine, from Switzerland, from Basel, and ended up in London, So and there are more words. There are very many words, They are similar in English and in Swiss German, and they are not similar to German, but very similar both in English and Swiss German. There were quite a few Swiss regiments in the English army, like the Roll Regiment or Roll Regiment, the 347th British Swiss Legion, the Meuron Regiment, and quite a few others. So I suppose that, remember that Starmer, it means the stormtrooper, nowadays German Stürmer, which it's almost the same, it's only one letter different. The A is a U with umlaut, and it's a military a position, you know, a stormtrooper. So I suppose, you know, not all of these Swiss soldiers in the British Army, you know, they finally went back to Switzerland. No, they stayed in England, you know, and they got names like Stürmer. Well, he was a stormtrooper in the army. So when the family names, the surnames were invented, you know, mostly after the French Revolution, then this guy probably said, well, I was a stormtrooper in the army. My name is Stürmer, you know. So I read it for you, you know. Here, the Kingdom of England began to recruit Swiss mercenaries after the glorious Revolution of 1689. The first capitulation was signed in 1690 between England and the Protestant cantons of Zurich, Bern, Glarus, Schaffhausen, and Appenzell-Ausserrhoden, as well as the city St. Gallen. Starting in the 1750s, Swiss soldiers also served in the armies of the British East India Company, you know, already in the 17th century. So between 1751 and 1754, 580 mercenaries, mostly Swiss and Germans, were sent to the East Indies. The East India Company Swiss contingent was increased in 1757 by 4 regiments recruited by Jacques-Marc Prévost, a Genevan officer of the Royal American Regiment. Oh yeah, and this Prévost family, they had a descendant later on in history, and he became the first director of the CIA, Alan Dulles. You know, same family, you know. So with Jacques-Marc Prévost, the Swissies already got their sleeper agents in the Americas and also in England, you know. So he was an officer of the Royal American Regiment. Again, you see the Templars cross. It even says a compass in the middle. It was the British Army in America. This one here. So he started to fight against the Americans, this Prévost family, and finally they fought America and the Americans from the inside out, like their descendant Alan Dulles becoming the head of the CIA. We all know the CIA is against the American people. I already told you this. I gave you the proofs about the Prévost family and Alan Dulles. I continue to read because this is very important. During the 7 Years' War, the Swiss were numerous among the auxiliary troops from continental Europe that fought in the war's Indian theatre. Oh, they're everywhere. On behalf of the East India Company, EIC. Some Swiss mercenaries reached important posts with the company and amassed considerable wealth, notably through looting. Oh, you know, Nazi gold in Switzerland, you know. I've been doing this for a long time, you know, Knights Templars. I've always been doing this. Another important theatre of war in the 18th century was North America, where Swiss mercenaries in the British Army served in the French and Indian War. Some, such as Henri Bouquet and Frederick Holdeman. There you go. Henri Bouquet, I already told you, there was a Swiss colonel, and he gave all the infested blankets to the Native Americans, killing them all in North America. Swissy did it, you know? And Frederick Holdeman, again from the, already told you about this guy, from the Elon Musk Haldeman family, and Elon Musk now is with Donald J. Trump. You know, they always have 3 names, you know. And be aware of the middle name, of the guys with the 3 names, be aware. And later on it says here, he served as the governor of Quebec. And he was a good friend of Henri Bouquet. I already told you all this. But you slaves probably all forget about it. Eh? So both from the Royal American Regiment, it's an English regiment, achieved distinction in North America and held high offices in the British colonial administration. Charles Daniel de Meuron, a former colonel of the French-Swiss Guards, founded his own mercenary regiment under the name Régiment de Meuron. Now, there was another Swiss regiment. It says the Regiment de Meuron was a regiment of infantry originally raised in Switzerland in 1781. So that's just before the French Revolution of 1789, for service with the Dutch East India Company. At the time, the French, Spanish, Dutch and other armies employed units of Swiss mercenaries. Well, anyway, the Regiment de Meuron was also integrated in the English army. And a lot of guys, you know, they stayed in England afterwards, you know, getting names like Der Stürmer. You know, the stormtrooper, Mr. Starmer, being completely against the English people. And their ancestors always have been. So if you don't understand history, you will never understand Mr. Sir Keir Starmer and what he is doing. If you don't understand history, if you don't understand Swaziland and what they're doing, you will never understand anything about Keir Starmer. You can give him names like Keir Stalin, that's funny, you know, but it won't solve anything, you know. I propose that his name is Keir the Stormtrooper, Kerl Stürmer. So, Regiment de Meuron, first serving the Dutch East India Company, and from 1796, the British East India Company. Yeah, under British service, the regiment fought in the Mysore campaign. I don't know, well, that looks like India, isn't it? Yeah. The Mediterranean campaigns of the Napoleonic Wars and the Peninsular War. So you guys in India, you know, remember the Swissies came to your country and killing your people. You know, the same as Napoleonic Wars as they did in France. The Peninsular War in Spain, same thing. All over the world, they've been killing people, you know, leading to names like Starmer. The Regiment de Watteville, there it is, was a Swiss regiment founded by Frédéric de Watteville, from the French part, I suppose, of Swaziland, and recruited from regiments that served between 1799 and 1809 in the Austrian army, but in British pay. Oh, what do you know? The troops then signed on as mercenaries to be paid by the British. The Swiss soldiers were then transferred to British service. Look, I repeat, I'd like to repeat this 3 times. The Swiss soldiers were then transferred to British service. You know, Starmer, the stormtrooper, Stürmer becoming Starmer. They fought in the Napoleonic Wars, mainly around the Mediterranean. They were based in Malta and then in Egypt from 1801 to 1803, fighting in Sicily and Naples. So remember, you Italian people, the Swiss have coming over to your country, killing your people. They've done this all over the world, and they're still doing it. You know, I narrowly escaped a Swiss assassination attempt a few weeks back, or it's already 2 months back maybe now. The regiment fought in the Battle of Maida in southern Italy in July 1806, kept up the strength by Spanish and Portuguese recruits from 1811 to 1813. The Watteville regiment was involved in the Peninsular War in Spain, defending Cadiz during the siege of Cadiz. The Meuron and Watteville regiment both sailed to Canada. You know, there's Haldeman, here he is, Frederick Haldeman, the governor, an ancestor of Elon Musk, to fight in the War of 1812. The Watteville Regiment saw action at the siege of Fort Erie and at the Battle of Fort Oswego. All Swiss units in British service were demobilized in 1816. A short-lived British Swiss Legion, recruited in the 1850s for the Crimean War, was disbanded in 1856 without having been deployed. Yeah, well, you don't go that whole way without having been deployed, eh? Of course, look at the image. It's a war there, you know. So Ukrainians and Russians, you know, remember the Swissies, and they came to your country and kill your people, as they still do today, you know. So here it says, all Swiss units in British service, again here, were demobilized in 1816. And then what happened? Did they go back to Switzerland? You know, by that time they spoke perfect English, probably, you know, like Stürmer. And they stayed in England. Of course they did, you know. Now, I'll tell you a lot more about it. You know, there's even places like Little Switzerland in Switzerland, and it's this website here if you want to read it yourself. Here, no, Landsknechts. There, Swiss mercenaries in Wikipedia. So this is about the Rolls Regiment, you know, maybe Rolls-Royce, maybe the name, maybe is Swiss, you know, just like that American car, Chevrolet, you know, the guy was Swiss, Mr. Chevrolet, you know. So the Rolls Regiment, also the Rolls or von Rolls Regiment, was a regiment of the British Army formed of Swiss, French and German soldiers in 1794 for service in the French Revolutionary Wars. But it was mostly Swiss soldiers and in the British Army. And here the regiment's first colonel was Louis de Rolle, a former officer of the pre-revolutionary French Swiss Guards. Now, they were everywhere. And why were all these Swiss mercenaries everywhere? Well, because Switzerland was founded by the Knights Templars in 1291. You know? And the first colonel, Louis de Rolle, of course that's nobility, de Rolle. He was a Swiss mercenary active during the French Revolutionary Wars and Napoleonic Wars. So this is another regiment integrated, another Swiss regiment integrated into the British Army. And I wouldn't be surprised, you know, Sir Stürmer, you know, being knighted to Sire, Sir, you know, by the King himself, Mr. Charles. And he's probably a descendant of one of this pharaonic nobility, like Louis de Rolle and the other ones we just saw, de Meuron, because you will not get so high up in politics or get into politics at all if you're not of pharaonic nobility. You know. So the British Army was full of Swissies, and many of them stayed. So here's some more about the British Swiss Legion. From 1855 to 56, the British Swiss Legion was one of 3 foreign legions raised for the British service during the Crimean War, the others being the British German Legion and the British Italian Legion. It was originally intended that the British Swiss Legion should consist of 8 battalions of infantry, 2 battalions of rifles, 2 regiments of cavalry, besides artillery, train and sappers and miners. Well, you can read it yourself. So, you know, dear Ukrainians, you see, 200 years ago, not even 200 years ago, you were attacked. You know, the same ones who are doing this now, you know, as the Russians are doing. the same things, you know. It happened already 200 years ago, and this time by the English. So you really want to trust them? Well, I don't, you know, because it's the nobility. You know, the English people, okay, they're quite some good people, you know, but the stupid slaves, you know, they always go into the army. And apparently the English didn't want to go to war in the army, you know. And at that time, it wasn't compulsory yet. So they took over the Swiss to do it for them, the Swiss mercenaries. So, you know, and in Crimea, all this has been going on for 1,000 years, I think, you know, the one war after the other. Probably because of the Cossacks. And the Cossacks, they want to rule over themselves. They always wanted this, you know. They did so for a long time, for hundreds of years, I think. And Pharaoh's nobility, they hate this, you know, when a people wants to rule over themselves, you know. They hate nationalism. And, you know, that's why there's always a war around Crimea and the Cossacks, you know. By England doing it, and then it's the Russians doing it, or the ones ruling over Russia, because at least 1 million Russian men don't even want to go to war, you know. It's not really the people. And I told you before, we need a vertical rule against our masters. We don't need any more horizontal rules, you know, one people against another, one religion against another. You know, now we see all the nationalists rising again at once, you know. And, you know, the Muslims aren't really our enemy, you know. Well, they are not my enemy because I understand. I mean, who brought them here in the first place, you know, in this respect, you know, to divide and rule and put people up against each other, you know. Well, I could go on, you know, for hours, you know, but this is about the Swiss Legion and about Stürmer. So, together with his Octagon Templar Order of the Bloodbath, I have no doubt at all that Stürmer is the Anglified version of Stürmer, and he knows it. Same thing as we've seen in America, with Swiss Huber becoming Hoover, and also the name Eisenhower. It says Hoover is the anglicized version of the German and Dutch surname Huber, originally designating a landowner or a prosperous small farmer. Notable people with this surname include, so there are a lot of, but here was the President of the United States, Herbert Hoover, and here J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI director. And those two, the President Hoover and the FBI Hoover, they were in office at the very same time the Wall Street crash and the theft of the savings of the American people took place. So here's some more, you can read it yourself. Hoover became Hoover, like Stürmer became Stürmer. So if you punch Herbert Hoover, Hoover, and the same with J. Edgar Hoover, I'm not going to do that as well. You know, it comes out, and already showing that to you. Here, the genealogy chart showing how Hans Hoover is the 7th great-grandfather to Herbert Hoover, the 31st US president, via their common ancestor of Hans Hoover. And here as well, yeah, Hoover, whose family name was originally Hoover, was born into a Quaker family of distant and Swiss Hoover. And so on and so forth. So here is a list of Swiss Americans in Wikipedia. And there are many Swiss Americans. There are 1 million today. See, like Renee Zellweger, the Hollywood star. There are many others as well. But what I wanted to show you is like President Herbert Hoover, there he is, of Swiss descent. He's a Swiss American. And also Obama also. And I hear Henry Wirtz. He was the commandant of the concentration camp in America. And here Henri Bouquet, you know, the guy who murdered the American Indians. And here he is, J. Edgar Hoover of the FBI, also Hoover. So these are the Hoovers, and there are many, many, many more. So you find this in, and they did the same in England, you know, like Starmer and many others. And now they are following politics like destroying the English, you know, from the inside out. Just like these Swiss sleeper agents did in America. They import themselves into a foreign country, integrate, change their names into a more inconspicuous form of their original names, nicely fading into the local landscape, and then go for all key positions and terrorize the indigenous population locally and nationally. Yes, Sir Kerl Stürmer has all the trademarks of a Swissy fifth-column sleeper agent, and that's why he doesn't act British and behaves totally anti-British. So here you see the Swiss flags again, says Switzerland. Here it says fifth column sleeper agents. Stürmer is Starmer. So from now on, I call Starmer Swissy Kehr der Stürmer, as the Nazi magazine by the ethnic Swiss Julius Streicher and his anti-Jaywalker magazine Der Stürmer. Equally anti-Jaywalker as Kerl Stürmer is doing, totally advocating Hamas and the Islamic Caliphate. So here you see the bloke, it says here, Julius Streicher. You see the same ending, ER, so it means he's doing something. Streicher, from the verb streichen, or anstreichen, it means like painting. So he's a painter. Another word is Maler, you know, so a painter. Painting houses, probably. And here it says, Der Stürmer, as I told you before, from the word Sturm, meaning storm. And if there's like somebody doing it, it gets an umlaut, the two dots on the U here. So S-T-U-R-M, without the dots, it means storm, storm, as in English. It's almost the same. So this is the origin of the name Starmer, and he's doing exactly the same thing. And a caliphate wants Sharia law, etymologically from the demotic pharaonic language Shar-ri-ah, for King Pharaoh, son, pregnant, meaning the pharaohs were born out of the sun, Amun-Ra, as part of the great Ennead, and come from beyond and not from this earth. That's what the word says. So here you see Muslims, they say Sharia for the UK, Sharia for Britain, but they don't know, they don't understand, as it says here, a feudal dictatorship. Sharia law and a caliphate is a feudal dictatorship, like in almost worse than in Saudi Arabia. And I know that Muslims, they don't like you know, the Sultan or the royal family of Saudi Arabia, because they don't treat Muslims right. So I don't understand these guys, you know, if they should have a look at Saudi Arabia, and then they wouldn't do this, you know. So a real, you know, bearded Muslim, he wouldn't be happy in this feudal dictatorship called Sharia. And it is from the pharaonic words sar, meaning a king or pharaoh, like in a sarcophagus, it's a box to put the king in when he's dead, or Caesar, the king of Rome, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, King Charles, his title is Sar, and it stands for Son Altesse Royale, His Royal Highness. There was Sarkozy, the King of France, the former President of France. And Ri, it means son, like in Ra. And Ah, it means big or pregnant. So Sar-Ri-Ah, it means Pharaoh, son, pregnant. It means the pharaohs are born out of the sun. That's what Sharia, that's what it means. It's a pharaonic dictatorship, and it's not good for a Muslim. It's not good for any man at all, or woman. It's a feudal dictatorship like we had in Europe, you know, with the kings and the castles, and we still have that. A feudal dictatorship, you know, it's not good, you know. Maybe there are books written about it, and these guys, they long back for this. And they think in a Sharia, a caliphate, we can be a real man, and you know, and no, it's the opposite. You know, they will put you down. You know, they will rape your women and the guys in the castle. And it's the same thing in the Orient as it is in Asia, as it is in Europe. These guys in the castles, you know, they have this feudal systems. You know, it says feudal dictatorship. So think it over, guys. I've got nothing against you Muslims, really. You Muslims are the only guys in Europe with whom I can talk about, you know, these pink list killers everywhere. With Europeans, I can't even talk about it, you know. Immediately I'm whatever, somebody bad, or, you know. So think it over, guys. Sharia is not good for you. Basically, it's these pharaohs here who want Sharia law and a feudal caliphate for pharaohs' nobility, so they can rule in total control over humanity. The only solution against these pharaohs is humanity unite all together against these pharaohs and their Nazi-like politicians like Kerl Stürmer. I guess you guys in England can't make any videos like this one here, out of fear ending up in one of the Octagon Stürmer's English concentration camps. So homie Hross does it for you and leads the way towards total resistance. So come on and join me. So this is a real picture of King Charles Al-Winsar bin Rabia. It's not Photoshop, you know. Here he feels at home, just like this one here. He feels at home in this world here, in the Muslim world, apparently. And here you see the octagon behind him, like most of the badges, and that's from the Knights Templars, you know. If an archaeologist or a historian finds a ruins which is octagonal, well, you know the Knights Templars did it, because most of their buildings are octagonal, just as the badges. And everything, military, police, it all comes out of the military order of the Knights Templars. So that's why I wrote here the Octagon Stormtrooper. His name is Stürmer, which means der Stürmer. Here it says Mr. Stürmer, like this one, der Stürmer, with a NATO stuff here. on it. You see the swastika in it, eh? Just only look at the black one here. It's a swastika. And there's the concept of 4, and the whole thing is in a circle. So it says square and compass, you know. Eh? You pretend you didn't know that, Mr. Stürmer. Of course you did, eh? Just as the death skull, the skull and bones on the SS signs, you know. It's the same as this one here. You know? Well, anyway, Kerl Stürmer certainly behaves like a Nazi, having many English political prisoners like Stephen Yaxley, and even slowly killing them in high security prisons like Peter Lynch. And Kerl Stürmer even teams up with the Muslims, just as Adolf and the Nazis did, with 2 huge Muslim SS divisions, Skanderbeg and Handschar. Kerl the stormtrooper will probably go goose-stepping through London with all the jihadists behind him. And here you can see that goose-stepping is still being practiced in Europe. I picked this up from 2012 in my channel Gatsefrats. I uploaded this probably 12 years ago. 2012, yeah, 12 years ago. So if you want to have a good laugh, go and watch this video. It might prepare you for what Kerl Stürmer is preparing. Go and watch it. So here is one of those Muslim SS divisions, the 13th Waffen Mountain Division of the SS Handschar. And this knife here, this sword, is the Handschar. It's like the Ottoman or the Muslim sword in those days. And they were like 17,000 men. They were the biggest SS divisions of the Nazis. Here you see them, you know, with the fez, just like Tommy Cooper, you know, the comedian, having this fez, Muslim fez on his head. And as we know, the Germans lost the war, but the Nazis won the war. And these Nazi liars, they told the Germans, well, you must be blonde and blue-eyed. On the other hand, you know, these ones here, they told them, well, you must have dark hair and brown eyes, you know, and be a Muslim. Everyone else, they were telling everyone else a different story, you know. So here you can see them. And here they got the skull and bones, total Freemasonry. Here it says Islam and jaywalkers. Here they got the Handschar together with the swastika. You know, they don't look very blonde and blue-eyed to me, eh? You know, well, the Nazis were liars, and they still are. Here you got the head of them, you know, the Mufti of Jerusalem, Amin al-Husseini, the head of the Nazi SS Muslim divisions. Here more, you know, and they did a real genocide in the Balkans, killing 500,000 blondes and blue-eyed, you know, if you want, on Europeans, jaywalkers, and Bohemians. Yeah, they're all praying. Look, the SS is praying. Look at it. And this is what, you know, this is the dream of Kerl Stürmer, you know, to have a Muslim division in England to fight the English people, you know. I mean, the dumb slaves are not doing anything anyway, you know, they just walk up and down the street. Now look, they're having a game or what, or hanging someone, all having the Tommy Cooper fez. I don't know what that is. Yeah. So this is the Handschar. And they had a couple of other, you know, it says here there were Bosnians, mostly Bosnians in it. And yeah, the Mufti of Jerusalem, or you can find it yourself. Here it says the Bosnian SS volunteers, you know, and you know, they said like go and kill the blue-eyed and the blondes, and the Nazis telling the Germans the other thing, you know. Nazis were lying, you know, they lied to the European peoples. They even lied to the Muslims. They lied to everyone. And they won the war. They're still there. They came out of the Knights Templars. So here's the other Muslim SS division, the 21st Waffen, that means weapons, mountain division of the SS Skanderbeg. Skanderbeg was sort of a hero for the Albanians. So this was more an Albanians. You see here the Albanian flag, you know, the double-headed eagle. Same as in Russia, you know. It means the old world order and the new world order. That's what it means. You know, the vertical rule and the horizontal rule. And, you know, we see in Russia the same thing, you know, Putin doing the same thing. He's putting a lot of Muslims and Kadyrov, you know, from Chechnya, putting them in the to kill Ukrainians. I told you, the Nazis won the war, you know, with all the Nazi gold they hid in their Principality in the Alps. That's why it goes on. And Putin, where I already told you in my Putin film, he is from St. Petersburg, and that's where that's really next to the area of the Teutonic Knights. And this is the Russian mafia. It's the Teutonic Knights. As I told you, the mafia in Sicily, it comes from the Knights Templars. I made a whole, what is it, 5-hour video about it, you know. And here's some more. There were also Arab, a couple of Arab SS brigades, not divisions, but a bit smaller. You know, so this is the dream of Mr. Stürmer, Mr. Sir Stürmer. And here there was also a Free Arabian Legion under the Nazis. Yeah. The Free Arabian Legion was the collective name of several Nazi German units formed from Arab volunteers from the Middle East, notably Iraq and North Africa. So there were several. There were many. Next to the two divisions, I think there were 8 units, you know, of Muslims for the doing jihad in Europe. Like Hitler wanted the jihad in the Balkan and a jihad against the European peoples, just as Mr. Stürmer wants this in England. But this is a aristocratic name, Al-Gailani, you know. This was their badge, which you can see here. You know, Freies Arabien. Ja, ja. Ist es aber noch immer nicht. It says free Arab world. I mean, they still don't have it. You know. All Arabs killing Europeans. It's the dream of Mr. Stürmer. And he made it clear on what side he stands, eh? What he wants. He made it perfectly clear. Now look, here's some more. There was also Azerbaijani Legion in the Wehrmacht. Look at that. Also Muslims. The Free Indian Legion. Also in the German army. Look at that. Well, let's have a look at this one here. Yeah, the Azerbaijani Legion. And look at what they did with the Armenians this year. You know, nobody said a thing, you know. So I wonder how many Armenians these guys here murdered. You know, for the SS, for the Nazis. So Can it be even more clear that the Nazis were against the Europeans and against the Germans? Can it be more clear? Hardly can be any clearer, can it now, eh? The dream of Mr. Stürmer to have a Muslim SS division in England. The first name, Kerl, is Irish and means black, and it sounds like the German and Swiss German word Kerl, which means a geezer, chap or dude. So altogether, Kerl Stürmer means a stormtrooper dude, which I will call this Swiss fifth column sleeper agent from now on. So here again the newspaper, Der Stürmer, and here Kerl Stürmer. In German you would put like Der Stürmer Kerl, you know, the stormtrooper chap, like in English probably. But you will understand what it means, the perfect German, you know, Kerl Stürmer. So I will call him like this from now on. You know, I mean, I've proven to you Stürmer is his real name, and I'll give you some more proofs. So he needs something Swiss German in front of it. So Kerl Stürmer. So here you can see it. If I punch name Kerl, there I get here the meaning black, dark, an ancient fortification closely related to the Irish Giureh, I hope I pronounced it right, is an Irish masculine name that means dark or black. So black, he's black indeed, eh? Like the SS, the Stürmer, the black SS. And here as well. You know, name Kerl, originating from Ireland, derives its meaning from the Irish word dub, which translates to black. I can't open it, you know, I don't want to take all the cookies. Name Kerl is a boy's name of Irish origin, meaning dark or black. So the black SS. You know, here it says Switzerland, Swaziland. And if you think this is in Swaziland, you're wrong. You're terribly wrong. Look at the English flag. This here is in London. And Keir Starmer, or Kerl Stürmer, he was born right next to this place here. So a lot of Swissy sleeper agents were born around Leicester Square in Soho, London, which has a predominantly ethnic Swiss population.